So asset plays is the next
Something
kind of
that's a bit
stock.
more easy to kind of gauge, at least for new
When
investors.
I was starting out investing, I was drawn to asset plays because it was so nice just looking at the balance sheet and going, okay, they have cash, or okay, they have real estate, and that can either make the investment or protect the downside. But when I ask you, like, what is an asset play, is that essentially what it is? Like they have some kind of thing on the balance sheet that is worth more than the stock price is currently saying it is?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got the best example of an asset play in front of us, which is Seritage. We've kind of seen the business go from this has some potential. You can probably sell off some of some of the buildings that they have, and then reinvest that into the existing properties to get meaningfully higher rates of return, right? That you had that kind of margin of safety with their properties. But it's been a very different story. That whole plan kind of was abandoned, and now we're seeing a pure asset play wherein the company is going to liquidate, sell everything off, and hopefully managers are going to pay off what they said that they're going to pay to the shareholders after the debt is paid off. So that's one that a lot of people have covered on YouTube. So that's a great example of an asset play.
Yeah, another one that comes to mind is what Ted Weschler did with Dillard's during the pandemic, where the stock price got really, really cheap when people were worried about the ability of the business to continue to make money. But my analysis of what he did was he looked at the real estate, the assets, and said, okay, this is worth more. Take away the debt, and it's still worth more than what the stock price is saying the business is worth. And then the actual business of selling stuff came back, and the stock price did really well, and they bought back a bunch of stock, which was like a
And
cherry
they
on
paid like
top.
the nice special dividend too, right? They had that.
Yeah, they did.
That
Yeah,
was-
just
yeah.
a home run investment. My question about asset plays and maybe the risk. Obviously, there's a risk that like you can judge the value of the asset wrong, or possibly with something like Seritage, the value of the asset can change as the interest rate
Yeah.
environment changes and the real estate is not worth as much. So you can be wrong about the value of the asset itself. But another risk, I think, is I'm asking you the question, like, do you think you need a catalyst? Because, like, let me give you an example. There's an oil company called Pedevco. And when you look at what their reserves are worth and you look at the net cash they have on their balance sheet, today it might be selling at like 40 cents on the dollar. And I've been in it before, but one of the reasons
Right.
I've gotten out of it is like the market can see that. Like everyone, like people know what Pedevco's oil is worth, and they know they have net cash. What's going to make that stock price go up, and what's the catalyst going to be? So when you look at asset plays, do you think there needs to be a catalyst?
That is kind of the biggest risk with asset plays. If you need someone to get in there, an activist, management, someone who kind of is ready to unlock that value. Like one other example, you mentioned Pedevco, but there's another example of like railways. So a lot of railways, the tracks that they have, they own that land, and many times that land that's there has a lot of different rights. Like they might have oil rights or water rights or something or the other, right? So a lot of that value is kind of stuck, and you can keep saying that this asset is super cheap, super undervalued, but nothing's going to unlock that value. So you might be sitting on an asset play for an extremely long time with no kind of result in the stock price.
Huge opportunity
It's a,
cost.
it's an opportunity cost, and it's a difficult place to kind of judge and take that portfolio position. Especially if it's a large position, you might be stuck there for a very long time.
Yeah, and so something that's one way to look at asset plays is I kind of like looking for asset plays that also have a fast grower or turnaround or stalwart like aspect to them, like Dillard's. Like it's nice when the asset provides a margin of safety, but you don't have to rely on it to get the stock price increase result you're looking for. You can rely on the actual business results, but you have that backstop there of the assets. And maybe that's something like Reysas, where the management is really good at capital allocation, and they're going to be able to grow the business, but that massive amount of warehouse space they have is kind of like a margin of safety backstop on the investment. So